zampe ze parache palden lame shabla solvade Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Saneka Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Saneka Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Dhagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Uyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Tseche Nyingne Sowa Debetse Techen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dedem Geme Lungi Drubra Jingi Lo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shabetse Dunge Namke Yinsu Lekshune Lapchen Tsonye Yonso Tsopadan Cheranye Tun Chamra Jingel Chancho Parge Ninsen Tugun Tu New Peme Sudru Lekshun Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Tungen de la Drubra Jingelo Dagi Lona Chola Chopadan Chumin Samjur Nimba Shiwad Dende Malup Beme Dorna Tigne Tsiratam Uje Chenge Dala Siksu So Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Jetsun Lame Tuje Rabgong Kodan Sunge Nawar NgalSo Nyongwe Kesan Tobrash Kewa Kunto Yanda Lamadan Rame Cheki Pela Long Chechi Sadan Lamge Yunten Rabzo Dorje Change Kopa Nyur Toba Sho Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Alo Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Ma Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Ten Yerme Chikto Chingi Makyuke Kudan Dagi Alum Makyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Makyuke Tudan Dagi Ten Yerme Chikto Chingi Shakyamuni Swaha Om chedan soge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso che dagi chinso gibe sonam ki rola pinchira sange drubra sho sange chedan soge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso che dagi chinso gibe sonam rola pinchira sange drupara sho sange chedan soge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso che dagi jinso gibe sonam rola pinchira sange drupara sho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Good morning. Yesterday, I used the metaphor that is often applied, used during the teachings, the one of a fertile soil and a seed that can germinate, grow in the soil. And the seed represents our potential. The fact that it can germinate, obviously these are our qualities that gradually develop. And the soil, the fertile soil, represents morality, represents our ability to avoid what's harmful and cultivate what is good for us. Because if we don't have this ability, it'd be hard to develop our qualities. It's just not possible. Also because we're made of habits where we gradually transform. Just sorry a second, I'm just going to adjust the volume. So what happens is it's not possible to change something. It's not possible for us to transform as beings if, just a minute. Okay. It's not possible for us to transform as beings if we don't interact in one way or another. What creates change is interacting with one thing or another. That's what makes the change, the transformation. And morality has to do not about this is good, this is bad, some kind of forced imposed morality, but our ability to discern what is beneficial and what's harmful and interact more and more with what's beneficial, good for us. But the question I want to ask today is, I mean, it's not, isn't it easy? I, um, even looking at some parts of Lojong, um, I was left with a thought. that for me, for example, when I read the teachings of Lojong, mind training, it's like feeling at home. It's something I really, really enjoy. I feel really well, but I see that it's under it's understood a little bit like a weight, a burden can be understood like this. So being able to abandon what is harmful and cultivate what is good is not necessarily easy. And what it requires, was often said, the basis to be able to go ahead, to grow, to do anything in life in general, and specifically in the Dharma, is enthusiastic effort. Enthusiastic effort is defined as joy in virtue, feeling joy, putting energy and feeling joy for what is virtuous. And here there's a part where, how can I explain it? Something that normally it's explained also because, in my opinion, let's remember that 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 Buddhist teachings transmitted in our case for centuries in Tibet and originally in India in a very different social context. When I mean, we come from a different social context. So, and there's one characteristic here that I never saw in the Tibetan context, but here it comes up often. This fact that for to be able to put energy into something, I need inevitably to want it. I'll never put energy into something I don't want. It's the basis. The basis of putting energy into something is aspiration, desiring it, wanting to go towards that thing. This desire is extremely important. For there to be desire, I need to believe in that thing. I need to have faith. I need to believe that it's possible, that it's beneficial, that I can do it. Believe not just in where I want to go, but I need to believe in myself that I can do it. And so I don't believe just in the objective itself, but in my ability to reach it. This is what is traditionally explained, but where I see a certain difference, difficulty, is that one, it seems that every once in a while there's a tendency to say, I believe in what is holy, sacred. In this case, I believe in Buddha, etc. But that I can get there, never. So I expect something. I expect something to help me, some kind of miracle that's going to come from some part. We have we have faith in the sacred, but not in ourselves, in our ability to walk, to grow. This happens sometimes. But what I wanted to talk about today is something different. When we have desire for something, there's a component that comes that in the Tibetan context I didn't see much. I think it's a cultural aspect. So together with desire, we insert a strong expectation and also a sense of guilt for not reaching our objective. So I want something, even with smaller objectives. Something I've heard a lot is something like, "Oh, I I've listened to many teachings, I've read, I, I've I've understood that it's not good to get angry or to get jealous, so we develop an idealized image about what we want to be, and and, and this is important to develop that desire to do that, because if I don't have an idealized in the sense of how would it be, what I would like to become, if I don't create that image, it will be difficult to direct myself towards that. But the error is creating an idealized image and then putting the burden on ourselves to already be there or to get there in a short time. Okay, I've understood, I saw, but how is it possible that I'm still here? So we get into a kind of we feel guilty. Oh, I'm not able. I don't do it well. I know what I should do, but in the end, I never do things well. I'll never make it. It's too difficult. It's a little bit like yesterday when we saw the all the commitments that are given in part of the mind training. There are some things that are very difficult to do well. And so when we look at things or like how it would be good to do or right to do, some people might pull back and say, I'll never be able to do this. I am so selfish. Look at how I'm this way or that way. And sometimes we can have this tendency of putting ourselves down and developing a sense of guilt for not managing, for not getting there. And instead, the key is not realizing something in a short amount of time. Instead, we need to respect the length of our own legs and walk slowly. The starting point of this path is 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 being kind to ourselves. We direct ourselves towards what we want to become, but we we accept ourselves with our own problems, with our weaknesses, with everything that's there. We need to accept ourselves with kindness and love, and with that, we put our effort to walk one step at a time. Because I tried to I try to imagine the years when that I was in India, the Tibetan community. I never saw this kind of, I never heard these kind of commentaries like "I'll never make it, I'll never be able to get there," and or even, "Oh, I need to do this, I need to get there in 3 months." It's something that it's it's an objective that exists towards which we walk, but we don't know when we're going to get there. So sometimes it's too far, and one can lose one's enthusiasm and energy. But it's important for there to be constancy. I say this because we need to be careful to not get into the attitude of oh well, I can't do it. I'm not able. Oh, this is too difficult. I'll never be able to get there. Because there's also a saying in Tibetan, I don't know where it comes from. It's maybe a sutra, or it says something like, even an ant, if it puts energy in the right direction, will become a Buddha. Obviously not in the lifetime of an ant, in the form of an ant, but if we walk in the right direction gradually, one thing brings another, and one is able to get where one wants to go. It is possible, but obviously this requires um, uh, continuity, constancy. This this feeling of guilt is very, very complicated, and it's a little bit difficult. It's difficult for me to really grasp it completely. And when you observe it from one side, maybe there's another side that is still obscure. Um, also for my good luck, it's not something that was part of my upbringing, but it seems like there's something there that that, how can I say, it's almost as if, well, I can't manage because I'm bad, because I'm jealous, because I'm envious, I'm this, that, and the other. And so somehow I relax in these negative aspects of myself. And because I feel bad about it, that's enough. When instead the point is not about feeling bad about bad habits. It's not even about bad habits, about our dynamics, the things that are harmful to us. So we shouldn't feel bad about these conditionings of ours. Sometimes people come to me and say, I'm ashamed to be in front of you given what I am, or because I'm not able to do what you tell me to do. If you were able, you'd be a Buddha. We're here because it's hard for us. We're not able in the sense that, I mean, yes, we can make it, but it's a gradual process, one step after the other. Each one has his own time, his own abilities, and we shouldn't have. There's no expectation towards anyone to do it right away, to right away become patient, to eliminate anger right away, from to right away to become a bodhisattva of the 10th bhumi. So we shouldn't. Also, every once in a while, it happens, for example, I see someone who says, I'm ashamed because I had bad thoughts, even towards you, or maybe bad thoughts towards one's own master, or my faith isn't that strong. That's fine. This has happened so many times in the past, and it will happen again in the future. It's fine, not in the sense that it's fine. I mean, actually, it's not fine in the sense that it's not good for you, but it's part of the path. It's part of the process. So we should accept this also with love. It's it should not be fed, but should be accepted. And I don't know if this difference is clear. It's not because something it shouldn't be fed, should be opposed. When there's something that is the part of our being, in the sense we're used to being like that, there's we don't need to go in against it. We should accept, but then redirect ourselves. Redirect that aspect. I see that that aspect is not beneficial. I accept it with kindness and I say, okay, I'm walking in this direction and I want to adjust to be able to go in that direction. Also, like, it's really important, an idealized image of what we want to be, or what we want to reach, what we want. For example, here we are at the center. We want, we think about how we want the center to be, how things go. The problem is the problem is when we have an idealized image together with the expectation of things being like that in a short time, because expectations are do only harm. That often they're connected to wanting reality. We want reality to correspond to an idealized image that that we apply, that we and normally when it doesn't happen, our tendency is that we look for the thing to blame or the ones to blame. Why is it not the way I had expected? And I don't know exactly where this comes from, why. But what happens sometimes is when we create an idealized image, So, on one side, it's very good. It's important to desire, to dream, and direct ourselves towards something positive, virtuous, beautiful that doesn't correspond to our present day reality. But the problem is when this idealized image is applied within an expectation. Oh, the things then need to be like this. When things are not the way we think they should be, we often have an attitude of looking for the guilty one, the one to blame. Why, how is it that it's not the way I want? And looking for the one to blame, we we enter in this process of criticizing, pointing a finger towards one, the other, to ourselves. And it's strange. What's strange is that at the end of the day, it's almost as if by pointing the finger at at people, at situations that we think are the cause, the causes of what's the causes of the problem are keeping us from realizing what we think, how we think things should be. Um, by pointing the finger, it's almost as if we think that that resolves it. By criticizing, is that it resolves the situation when it absolutely doesn't. When when there's that criticism, this moment of criticism or looking for the one to blame, it generates a kind of feeling of pleasure, doesn't it? There's something I don't really understand why. I'm not able to understand well why this happens, but the point is that this is like this, and it's not beneficial. It's not good, is it? Just because it's not helpful. If something is not the way we think it should be, in reality, the problem isn't in the reality in front of me. It's the problem is that I attributed a value that reality cannot sustain. I don't know if this difference is clear. If I let me give you an extreme example. I would love I would love every day for the sun to come up in a different direction. Every day, instead, every day it comes up, the sun rises in the east. But I create this desire, and at a certain point, I'm upset that the sun comes up only in the east. What would you say if I had this expectation? You're suffering for nothing because the sun is always going to come up in the east. Useless to suffer. Um, Useless to suffer for wanting the sun to come up in other directions, you know. Um, and I could be upset saying no, it would be so beautiful and be more equanimous, and everybody would have the same amount of sun in their homes. Um, coming from different directions. I mean, we can invent anything. But what happens is when we desire something that is not possible, how do we see it? Like something stupid, something impossible, useless. It's crazy to be suffering for something that's not there and is impossible to exist. Like I'd like to have eyes in the back of my head, and I'm upset because I don't have them. It's useless to suffer for that. In this present moment, it is the way it is. Given a complex interdependence of causes and conditions that bring it to be as such. And in front of this interaction that was and that is, it can't be different. Someone might say, oh, but if that thing had been different, obviously, then the present would be different too. If something in the past was different, but the fact is, it wasn't different, and so it's not different in the present. The example that we've given many times is the leaf that falls. Of a leaf from a tree falls, and if we were to analyze and ask ourselves, why does it fall in that specific point? Why did that leaf fall there and not 1 centimeter um, to the left or to the right? Well, the wind, the atmospheric pressure, all the conditions that were present at the moment, the car that drove by, the position of the tree, the temperature. We could spend hours describing all the minimum variables that made it so that that leaf fell in that moment in that exact place. So it's not random. It's the result of an infinite, a complex interaction of infinite parts. Is this clear? If that's true, then 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 the position that the leaf fell is perfect, perfect in the sense that in front of causes and conditions that were present, it couldn't be different. It can't be different. And at this point, also I am perfect. You are perfect. Everything is perfect. Not in the sense that we don't have problems or things that don't create suffering, but in front of the causes and conditions that have been created up till now, this reality can't be different. But this doesn't mean that we should give up and say, okay, if it's like this, there's nothing I can do. Not at all. Because every small action changes radically the future, and it has an enormous effect on the future. Even every word that we hear, every word that we say, our thoughts are constructed one on top of the other. Our state of being, our way, our our thoughts, our thoughts on which we base our worldview are based on previous thoughts. For example, it's if I come to you today and I speak badly about Devadatta, 30 seconds to talk badly about Devadatta because Devadatta is not trustworthy. He's a liar. He's selfish. He thinks only of himself. He tries to hurt other people. It's not even 30 seconds. And you don't know Devadatta. You've never met him. And 20 years from now, let's say you meet Devadatta. Do you have some kind of imprint? Do you have a judgment, prejudice against him? That those 30 seconds of words leave an imprint on how you're going to uh, think of him, what you're going to think of him. These thoughts in our present moment, the value that we attribute to things, they are based on previous thoughts. The mind is constructed gradually in our life. And so this to say that every every thought has a enormous power, not just in the present moment, but also in constructing and building up our future thoughts. Every experience that we live has enormous power. Every choice, every action. And those who say, "Oh, this gives me anxiety because I need to be careful that I shouldn't make any mistakes." No, relax. Instead of anxiety, it should give us hope, because if every small action has a great power of change, this means that I can actually direct myself, direct small actions, and gradually transform myself in the direction that I want to go. There's not this expectation to already be there, and or even to fight against the world or our conditionings, or because or conditions because they're not ideal. Because as long as we are dissatisfied, our world will not be ideal. I don't know if that concept is clear. I say it because if I observe comments that I hear, uh, most of us, I can't say all because I don't know the life of every one of you, but I can imagine a little bit. Do we have a little bit to complain about regarding our life? There are things, oh no, this isn't right, that's not right, I've got this problem, I've got this difficulty. And what's interesting is that if we take every difficulty, every problem that we have, it's not that they're not problems and they're not difficult to face without taking any weight away, because there are difficulties, there are things that are not easy to face. But how can I say? The easy or difficult, the a lot or a little, it's all relative. What's easy for one is difficult for another. What's a lot for one is not enough for another. What's is little for another. As long as we're along this taken in this process of dissatisfaction and attachment to an idealized image of how things should be, um, thinking at least they should be like this in this way, somehow it's as if we're fighting against the present. What we But we can't fight against our present. What we can do is build our future and our face the abilities that we have here in our hands in the present. But with this, we get back to a point that is it's okay to accept our difficulties, to see the difficulties that are there, take a breath, accept them, accept ourselves. I am not saying that to block them and pretend that they're not there, but at the same time, we need to be careful to not be trapped in the problems and in the sufferings, because it seems like, how can I say? Buddha said, all phenomenon exist based on based on the imputation of the name. I'm not going to open up this subject now, but nothing exists for any one of us independently of the value that we ourselves attribute to it. In other words, we perceive and we live reality through this filter of ourselves. And this filter through which we perceive things is made up of many aspects. Some of these aspects have to do with expectations, also comparisons that we make. And the more we stay in this idea like, oh, what I have is not enough, it's ugly, look how difficult this is, oh, it used to be better, oh, if this were like this, if that was like that. At the end, we suffer even more, that we're there, we just seeing that it's not fine, it's not well, but actually, the life of most of us is really beautiful. We have difficulties. I'm not taking anything away from anyone. I mean, we are in samsara, and as long as we have our mental defilements and our karma of the past, etc., there will be suffering. And and it's something that we're working on, but is part of our path. And within this, we are we're in the elite of samsara, if you can say that. That we're in, w- we're fine. We're at one of the most beautiful um, parts, let's say, of samsara. But it's important for us to give value to what we have, live it with joy, to say, wow, how beautiful. Oh, but it could be better, we could say. Yes. It's not that it could be better. I want it to be better so that I direct myself towards that, and I manage to have an idealized image of what we want without the weight the weight of feeling that that should already be true now. I don't know if this is clear. So I accept the difficulties, that I see that things are not the way I would like them to be, but I recognize the beautiful things and I rejoice for these things. I I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to victimize myself or point the finger. Instead, I'm going to direct myself towards what I think will be better, and little by little, step after step. And one key that is there, a key for all of this is not criticizing, not complaining. I can open up my heart sometimes and say, "Oh, this is difficult. This other thing's difficult too." Okay, so, mm, you know, so how can I face this? How can I get the energy to face this? But it's important to, how can I say? It's important somehow to, um, s- the the way of saying might bring you different ideas, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's the importance of accepting our present, which doesn't mean to just to um, um, succumb to it, but instead we should accept it with joy and direct ourselves towards the future. Towards the past, it's important um, to be at peace with the past. I mean, it's useless to look back and fight and re-suffer for what has been. It's important to be at peace with with our past. And towards the present moment, it's important to have acceptance. Accepting doesn't mean to um, accepting the present means to not be trapped in the problem, but to, the metaphor that's given is, if I'm walking and a car is coming in my direction to hit me, what does accept the situation mean? Do I just stay in the middle of the road and say, "Oh, a car is coming to hit me. Okay, what happens happens," and I stay there peacefully? I to inhale, I exhale as the car's coming towards me to hit me. Of course not. Accepting means the car is coming to hit me. I don't want to be hit by the car, and so how can I get away? And not accepting, it would be, oh, the car's coming, and I start saying, oh, the car shouldn't be on this road. You know, I went, my light was green, that car went through a red light. I mean, but who is that? What did I do? And as one is there, not accepting what's happening and is opposing that situation, as we're accepting instead is putting energy towards the solution. There's a problem, it's there. It's important to see the problem, recognize the problem, understand the problem. But once I've understood, seen, I've made the correct diagnosis, the energy needs to be put towards the solution, towards the light, towards resolving. This is important. So the past is I mean, it's important for us to make peace with our past, and we need effort for that. But our objective is is to be at peace with our past, to accept our present, and to direct ourselves towards the future that we want. So the opposite would be when we are not able to accept the present, and this increases our resentment towards the past, and it generates fear and anxiety towards the future. Because I lived something badly, I don't want to repeat what I lived. But how am I going to manage? I don't have the resources, and I'm fear. I feel anxiety for my future. I live the present um, badly, and I have sadness, resentment um, for the past, and then I live very badly. Instead, if we're able gradually, it's not from one day to the other, but as a direction, it's important to be to be faced in the right direction. So whatever happens, we and whatever happened, we need to find that way to be at peace with what has happened, which doesn't mean to say that what happened was good. But sometimes, for example, when we're able to, this for me, this is something that has an enormous power, like the leaf of the before. When I'm able to see that that leaf fell in that context, fell in a place that couldn't be different. When I see that I do what I do to the best of my abilities, I make mistakes. And when I look at someone else, so someone else did something that made me suffer a lot. But why did that person do what he did? Because in front of his own abilities, the causes and conditions that he lived, that's what he only thing that one could have done. It would have been, we can say, well, it would have been better if he had done differently, of course, and it would be better if we were all Buddhas. But it's not like that. So when we are able to accept our present, this this helps us accept also our past, and which doesn't mean to just to give up. It means directing ourselves towards the future. To say, if I have a sickness, for example, just giving up means just staying there without doing anything. Oh, it's like this. I have this. Accepting sickness instead means I live with the awareness that I have this aspect of my health and I need to do something about it. So there's a big part of my life where I need to take care of my body, to take care of this sickness, and I put a lot of energy into looking for the right treatment, the right diagnosis, the right lifestyle. This is part of accepting. So getting back to our starting point, when we see that there are aspects of our teachings that talk about the importance of gratitude or altruism, things that we say, oh, that, I'm never going to manage that. It's important for us to accept our, our state of being in this present moment. Each one of us, we have our limits. Like when someone says to someone else, oh, you're Buddhist, you shouldn't get angry. I don't know why there's this idea that Buddhists shouldn't get angry. What I repeat, you know, one gets angry because they're Buddhist, and if he because if he didn't get angry, he wouldn't need to be Buddhist. He'd already be a Buddha. A Buddhist wants to become, but is not yet. I I'm aware that it's not it's not behavior that is beneficial. It's not good for me or others, and I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. And that's I'm on the path. I'm walking the path. I'm in the process. The problem is not having anger. The problem is not doing anything to change um, that mental defilement. The problem somehow is finding a kind of comfort zone where we complain that things don't go well, but we don't put effort into changing them. And, and then something that I see that's it's very widespread in our times in general, not just here, in many parts of the world actually. In this period, I see that it's widespread, an aspect of complaining, of seeing things in a certain way where things go badly, to not have joy in things, to feel everything's a little bit tasteless somehow. Oh, this is normal because to see everything from a kind of a negative aspect, that everything's going badly when in when there's energy, that there's a force that's pushing us in one direction, we should really try to walk in 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 a different and direction. When everyone is complaining about things not going well, then we really need to do a turnabout and see the things that are positive, that we can rejoice for, which doesn't mean not seeing the problems. It means facing them joyously. I don't know if that's clear. This possibility of saying, okay, there's a problem, I see it. I'm going to face it. I look for the solution with peace, peacefully, joyously. This is something beautiful that we can do. Try to give ourselves this direction. So, so respecting the length of our own legs, our own abilities, where we are today, respecting ourselves with an attitude of deep affection towards ourselves, where we accept ourselves with kindness in this present moment. We direct ourselves towards the future, making choices with awareness in the present. There's no hurry to get there, but it's important to be along the road. There's no hurry to get there, but there is hurry to be on the right road and walking in the right direction. But there's no hurry to get there because we don't know where our arrival point is. It's interesting because when we walk knowing that we want to get there, but we don't know how long it's going to take. From my own experience, just on a physical level, it's happened sometimes to take walks in the mountains and to take paths that I had never taken, and not know really how much time how much time um, it was going to take to get there. And this feeling that I really like is taking a new path, go walking in a place where I've never been, and have this feeling of trust that in something that one doesn't know, in this in I'm not knowing where I'm going, not knowing how long it's going to take for me to get there, but to feel sure in that present moment. And something that I saw, that when I have a clear idea, um, and and it's and when I'm almost there, that expectation increases, and that dynamics of walking changes. When you're walking and you don't know if you need to climb or if you're going downhill, you don't really know the path when it's just there. and in walking, in that walking is even more relaxing because you're open for whatever comes because we don't know what the path is. Instead, when I have a clear idea of what should be along the path, and when I find something different, I'm upset. And this has happened to me too. Even walking, I look at the map, I see, okay, I'll take a longer route, and then at a certain point, I see, in the map it should be downhill. It should be easy. I can walk for kilometers like this, and then that should be. I go. Here's a little bit of an uphill, and then it should go down. I get to the easy part, and instead I find like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers with these massive boulders. It's really difficult, I got there with my knees that hurt, my legs, my ankles that hurt. But the point is that in seeing that, I thought, oh, it can't be like that. And yet it was almost as if someone had put those boulders there. Um, and it's just instead it was just I created an expectation that that part of the road was easy, and then I did it. It was fine in the end. But what I realized that when I don't n- when I don't have an expectation of what I'm going to find, I have pleasure in walking. What's there is there, and you face it. If you go up, you go up. If you need to go down, you need to go down. If at a certain you know, if it's on one kind of what's important is where you put your feet, how you walk, and the same is true for our life. And we don't know what kind of path it's going to be today, tomorrow. But what's important is putting one foot in front of the other with joy. So there's no hurry to get there. We shouldn't have this burden of already being arrived and say, oh, Lama, with everything I've learned and everything I know and that I've lived, I'm not worthy of being a disciple of Rinpoche. No, no, none of that. There's no burden. There's no burden on any of us to already be there. What's there is this walking together, being together, where each one of us, and in our own time, in our own way. And if we need to stop for a little while, we stop without losing, hopefully, possibly, faith. So it's the union of two things they might seem opposite. Having a desire, a dream, an idealized image, but without the expectation. We accept ourselves with all characteristics, all our traits, but without just giving up. Instead, we direct ourselves towards a better version of ourselves. They might seem contradictory, but they're not. And with this, we develop enthusiastic effort of walking one step after the other, and not to not stop because we're not good enough, because we're not able. One walks little by little, and if I can't go quickly, I walk slowly, one step after the other. All right. Here we conclude here for today.
Jetsu lame kotse rapten chi namkra tinle chokchur gepa dan losan tembe drume sasomgi drowe munsela takto ne gyurche kewa kunto yanda lama dan dralme cheki pela longche chi sadan lamge yunte rabzo ne dorje change koba nyur tobo sho nimo dele tsendele Nime Kuyan Delekshin Ninsen Taktut Kuncho Sumki Jingi Lobo Kuncho Sumki Ngodrubutsol Kuncho Sumki Trashishun.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Have a very good day.